away from Jarl's Messenger mana bases. Hellrider, Aristocrat, Thundermaw, Hellkite, Spear, and Flame.
Over here, taking a look at the blue red flash deck list, very close to the deck list that Todd Anderson and Jerry Thompson have been running this weekend. You've got your Restoration Angels, Snapcaster Mages, and Augur Bolas as 4 ofs, along with Azorius Charm, Thought Scour, Pillar of Flame, Sphinx Revelation. 2 copies of Counterflux, Singletons and Dissipate, Rewind, Supreme Verdict, and Runechanter's Pike. And something that's a little bit different here about Justin Nguyen's deck list is that he does have 2 copies of Is It Staticcaster main deck, where you typically find that card in heavy numbers in the sideboard. So I'm sure that he did catch some people off guard during the 10-round Swiss yesterday, but with players having access to each other's deck list, it is something that Ian is going to have to play around, but he will know that it's there.
And Ian's list is reasonably buffered against Staticaster. There's Noble, which maybe you can tag if it's a turn 2 or turn 3 Noble. There's Aristocrat, but otherwise, and Knight of Infamy, I guess, as well. But he has Flailer and Hellrider, Hellkite. Do you see Noble get in for 1 here? Going up to a 2/2.
So now we are going to see, it looks like some more 1-drops here in Rakdos, Cackler, and another Stromkirk Noble. So Ian is off to a really fast start, and there really isn't anything to punish this kind of draw for him from Justin's deck. He does have 1 Supreme Verdict, but there isn't anything in the format like a Pyroclasm, and the card Rolling Trembler does not see main deck play in this format.
Yeah, also, because he's aware of the deck list, he knows that he is safe from Detention Sphere, so he can be confident running off that second Noble. Augur Bolas finds an Azorius Charm. I'm curious to see if Ian is willing to Alpha Strike here to try to get his other Noble up to a 3/3, assuming the Augur would eat the 1/1 Noble. And he is thinking about the same thing as well. I like this attack.
Yeah, as do I.
Way to go, Ian.
As we see Ian shuffling through a few cards in his hand, there's a Hellhole Flare in there. There's also a Thundermaw Hellkite to go along with a few lands. So his draw so far is quite good this game. We don't see the signature 4-drops in Hellrider or Falkenrath Aristocrat in Ian's hand just yet, but given where he's at, he is doing just fine thus far in this game.
So Ian's going to get him for 4 and get his Noble up to a 3/3.
And you're going to see a Blood Crypt here from Ian, knocking himself down to 18. And there is the aforementioned Hellhole Flailer.
A 3/2 with Unleash, where you can pay 4 and sacrifice it to deal damage equal to its power to target player.
Patrick, as we see these players go back and forth, Justin has drawn his card for the turn, going to figure out what he's going to do as we move into the mid-game. How do you feel about Hellhole Flare as opposed to a card like Rakdos Keyrune or Pyreheart Wolf? And as you said, Jarl's Messenger in the 3-drop slot for these decks.
Well, you know, his mana base is much more biased towards red, of course. So something like Messenger is probably off the table, unless you wanted to just rebuild the deck. I actually think the Flailer is a totally reasonable 3-drop for constructed level play. Not nearly as good as a card like Messenger, but for a red-black deck that wants to be casting red and black spells, that doesn't want to bias its mana too far in one direction or the other, I think it's a great use of the 3-drop slot. Like I said, a card that I felt was, when I saw, was like, this could be a constructed level beatdown card.
Yeah, 4 power for 3 mana. They typically, in aggressive-based strategies, do see play, in constructed. As we do see Ian play a Blood Crypt untapped before his attack step. The reason for that, of course, is to use Hellhole Flare's activated ability, if necessary, to go upstairs for 4 points of damage.
And Justin has both Azorius Charm and Supreme Verdict in his hand, so kind of an awkward, because he doesn't really want a Supreme Verdict, he doesn't want to Azorius Charm, one of the good creatures, back on top of his deck, if he's planning on Supreme Verdicting anyway next turn.
Yeah. So we do see Augur Bolas does jump in front of something here. A bit of a tell here that there is a Supreme Verdict coming by Augur Bolas just dying, and you don't see Azorius Charm being cast or anything.
Yeah.
We do see Justin draw Steam Vents for the turn. We see him move the Glacial Fortress forward, and there is a Supreme Verdict. So we're going to see Hellhole Flare go upstairs.
Knocking Justin down to 6.
Just let you know, we currently have registration open
And
for our legacy.
Justin up against the ropes here. They're searing. So now Ian's hand is Searing Spear, Pillar of Flame, and Thundermaw Hellkite.
Yes.
So a land or a spell Very bad news.
Safe.
And the tough spot here for Ian there is he really needed his 5th land so he could capitalize with Thundermaw Hellkite before Justin had Azorius Charm up. But we do see an Ash Zealot here for Ian's draw step. Looks like he may get charmed here, which I think, you just have to move past that part of the game and allow it to happen.
Yep. Especially when you have Thundermaw in hand that is also susceptible to charm and is lethal. You might as well. You just have to do this.
Yeah.
It's not pretty, but
A little surprised here not to see him cast that Pillar of Flame and get that over with.
yes, I'm not a huge fan of slow rolling that pillar.
I suppose maybe he can just cast Steering Spear at the end of turn here just to, get Justin down to 3 and represent a lethal Pillar of Flame. This way he's giving Justin a full extra turn by not casting one of those burn spells so that the other one will be lethal. As we do see Ash Zealot come in here again. We know that Justin does have a Snapcaster Mage, but by using Snapcaster Mage and flashing something back, he would have to take 3 damage from the Ash Zealot.
So we're going to see a Restoration Angel on the block. I assume we're going to be first striking and then Searing Spearing this card.
Okay.
All right. So more significantly for Ian is now he's actually going to get a fresh draw step, as he doesn't need much action to take this game down.
And the interesting thing here, Patrick, is a card that we don't really see a lot of play is actually in play for Justin in Desolate Lighthouse. And that's part of the reason I think that Ian needs to keep the pressure on for the turns where he doesn't actually do anything. It's going to give Justin the opportunity to draw a card, discard a card, and really just further his position and build his hand.
Yeah, particularly when the threat of Sphinx's Revelation is looming. Justin getting to sculpt what defensive tools, what land drops, the whole thing. Very significant.
As we see a Hellhole Flailer drawn here by Ian, a card that's going to represent a lot of damage in different ways. One, by attacking, but 2, just the activated ability, as we see here, a Sphinx's Revelation, as you said, for 3.
So, Revelating for 3. Gonna send Justin up to 9 and then down to 7 after the Ash Zealot resolves. And now I definitely Searing Spear because that means that the Thundermaw draw next turn would be lethal. Yeah, I'm not a fan of sitting on that pillar.
See Justin rearranging some things here, considering his options. Again, we do know that he has a Snapcaster Mage in his hand where he could flashback a Supreme Verdict. He would have to take 3 damage to do so, but I mean, it is a line of play as we see him main phasing and now casting it.
All right, so Ash Zealot triggers, and then looks like we have Searing Spear plus Pillar of Flame to finish off the job.
So you see Searing Spear number 1, Pillar of Flame number 2. Do you have a counter spell? I know that you do not. And Justin is going to scoop them up. Ash Zealot causing a big problem in that game. It being a haste creature, it being a 2/2, getting a few points of damage in. But again, that extra ability that's tacked on there, not an accident.
Yeah, I mean, that was an impressive showing by a particular 3-drop, which segues us nicely into the next part of our show. If you've ever been a part of these broadcasts, you know that during the elimination rounds of the Opens, we give away 3 months during the quarterfinals, 6 months during the semis, and a full year of Star City Games Premium.
We do.
We have a trivia question that we ask, and you post the answer on Twitter, #SCG Premium, and we draw one person at random for a couple months, possibly, and later on the show, a full year of SCG Premium.
But this time we'll be giving away 6 months of SCG Premium for you guys, and Patrick will be asking you guys a question, and you will send the answer over to hashtag SCG Premium, and we will select one lucky winner of the people that get the question correct.
And that question is, what sweet kind of outside-the-box 3-drop is Ian Kendall playing in his black-red aggro deck? So, #SCG Premium, that answer. It's not the person who posts first, as we draw one out of all the correct answers.
Correct.
So, and the winner will receive 6 free months of premium. So, have at it. There's only one in the deck, so there's multiple resources you can go to.
Can't get it wrong.
Well,
Or
you can.
could.
I mean, you can, but
Good, but it would be tough.
yeah, it's challenging. It would be
Yes.
hard to it would be hard to get this run wrong. Anyhow, to the sideboards.
Taking a look at the blue-white-red flash deck here from Justin Nguyen, it is a pretty stock list as far as things he can sideboard in this matchup. Excuse me. There are 2 copies of Spell, which they're good at countering Searing Spheres, but not much else. So I don't expect those to come in. There is an additional Supreme Verdict to go along with 2 Oblivion Rings and 2 Righteous Blows, and there are the other 2 is Ecstatic Casters in his sideboard. I could see those coming in, and they're fine in this matchup. There are some things that are very good at killing, like Knight of Infamy, like Stormkirk Noble. Some other things, not so much. I don't know if he's going to want the additional 2 to move up to 4. It is actually a pretty good blocker as well, so definitely some decent options here, but 100% we're going to be seeing Righteous Blow at some point.
Yeah, and I actually like Static Caster significantly more on the play than on the draw. It's more likely to tag a 1-toughness creature. The blocking is more valuable because you can match up against the 1s and 2 drops that can't attack through it. And so, even if he doesn't want the full play set on the draw, I think on the play they're awesome. And quite honestly, I expect him to bring in just all 4.
Sure.
On the other side, we have 4 copies of Vampire Nighthawk. Not really at its best here. The sideboard cards that I do like that he has access to are 1 Slaughter Games and 2 Cremates for sure. Those are just Cremate, very good against Snapcaster Mage. And the Slaughter Games I think is very important to name. Specifically Sphinx's Revelation, because once that card's out of the question, he can play a pretty honest attrition game with the Flash deck. With the threat of Revelation, it puts a ton of pressure on him to be super aggressive, which he kind of wants to be anyway, but it puts him under a lot of pressure to end the game quickly, because Revelations just trumps anything that he's going to be doing once you get to that stage of the game. There's also 2 copies of Ultimate Price. In my experience, now, this card's not at its best here. It's Augur, Snapcaster, and Restoration Angel. I will say specifically Restoration Angel is annoying, even if it's not blinking anything in these matchups, because a 3/4 flash blocker just lines up very nicely against a lot of your threats. And so when I was playing Black-Red, Restoration Angel was definitely a card I was willing to sideboard in some suboptimal, in quotes, cards to have a better chance of fighting. Actually, for Black-Red beatdown decks, I think Thunderbolt might actually be sweeter.
Yeah, Thunderbolt is definitely a nice option. I mean, there are opportunity costs associated with each one of those cards. If you're obviously looking to just beat Restoration Angel, Thunderbolt is probably the card that you want, as it takes care of it very cleanly, and if it's not there, you can just go upstairs for 3 damage. But there's, cost to be associated with Ultimate Price as well. It does a nice job, again, of taking care of some threats, and some it doesn't do a nice job of taking care of in a card like Loxodon Smiter and a card like Centaur Healer. So, the decision you have to make is you're not going to see a clean-cut answer across these red-black aggro decks. Victim of Night, again, it takes care of some cards, it doesn't take care of some others. Flames of the Firebrand can be a 2-for-1, or can be pretty bad and just be a 3-mana 3 damage spell. So you don't have something clean like Path to Exile that exists in this particular format.
Yeah, I'm not saying that the Thunderbolt would necessarily be correct in the sideboard over Ultimate Price, because Ultimate Price tags a ton of different stuff.
Of course.
But when I was playing Black-Red decks, Restoration Angel was the card that I feared the most out of these style of decks, because besides all the, I guess Augur Bolas as well, those were the 2 big cards. Because outside of the utility of blinking things out, the size of the body and the fact that sorceries aren't an effective answer to it meant that it was just a tough card to line up profitably with. Yeah. And so my sideboards always involved some card that was specifically geared towards beating Restoration Angel.
As we do see both players sleeving up and sideboarding here, they both have access to each other's deck lists, so they have the same information that you guys do have at home and Patrick and I do have in front of us. It'll be interesting to see exactly what happens there. I think that Game 1 is favorable for Ian. The matchup is pretty back and forth, however. We didn't really see a great draw there from Justin Nguyen. Didn't really do a nice job of stopping Ian's initial rush, and that's part of the reason that there are 4 Pillar of Flames here in these decks, to really just stop an initial rush, Snapcaster Mage it back, and then just move on from there, get yourself into the mid-game and into the late game, where your more powerful cards like Sphinx's Revelation can take over. The goal, of course, for Ian is to make sure that doesn't ever happen, and he did a nice job of it Game 1.
So what's the marquee card that Pillar of Flame kills?
Pillar of Flame does a fantastic job of killing Draw's Messenger, even though it's not here.
Draw's Messenger. What does Pillar of Flame not kill?
It does not kill Hellhole Flare.
Just saying.
Okay.
Metagame madness.
Yeah. the madness as we see both players drawing 7 cards here. Both players are keeping, and we are underway with a Steam Vents here for Justin. We'll see if Ian does have one of his 1-drops in Stromkirk Noble or Rakdos Cackler.
Are we being asked to stop here? Okay.
We have a pause in action, and we have a play in action, and we have Stromkirk Noble via Blood Crypt. So Ian's going to move down to 18, kick it back to Justin.
And I have to say, there's Pillar Flame to take down the Noble. With the exception of the basic swamps, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the way that Ian's deck is constructed.
Yeah, you know, this is a deck that I've given a shot, as we do see a Blood Crypt here, and we're likely going to see an Ash Zealot. This is a deck that I have given a shot, you know, in my streaming adventures online. And, you know, it is a very powerful deck because it is more aggressive than the heavy black versions that do have zombies and Dross Messengers. However, it doesn't really hold up very well to, you know, pinpoint removal or Supreme Verdict. So there's a bit of a trade-off here, as we do see an Oblivion Ring on the Ash Zealot, where you're super aggressive, but you don't really stand up to mash removal effects very well, as we see Hellhole Flailer here from Ian.
Snapcaster, Pillar Flame, this. I'm glad to see this card getting some reps here.
As we see a Desolate Lighthouse. I mean, it does do a nice job of avoiding that problem, which is what this blue, white, red flash deck is kind of based around. By splashing Pillar Flame, you're trying to better your aggressive matchups, but one card that cannot be Pillar Flamed or Snapcaster Pillar Flame is this one. And that's part of the reason I think that people have moved towards this card, and they've moved towards Rakdos Keyrune.
So how much are you willing to play around Supreme Verdict here if you're Ian? Certainly the Oblivion Ring on the Ash Zealot is a little would make me feel like he might not have it.
Yeah, I mean, it would lead me to believe that he doesn't have it either. And if I'm Ian, it's kind of interesting because right now, you know, he's willing to trade here for what looks to be a Restoration Angel. Maybe we have an ultimate price, and we do. So that's going to take care of that. You see him coming across for 4 with the Hellhole Flare. I think that, yeah, with me seeing a Pillar Flame on my first guy and then an Oblivion Ring on my second guy, I'm perfectly okay with, you know, playing into Supreme Verdict here. And Ian has the information that we do, that there are only 2 copies, and there's one of them.
All right. Okay, but here comes the Aristocrats.
So now we're going to see our first Falkenrath Aristocrat of the match. It is naked right now, so Pillar Flame or Snapcaster Mage on Pillar Flame will take care of this one, which is something that rarely happens to Falkenrath Aristocrat. But Justin does not have either one of those answers, and we do know that Ian has another one in his hand.
There's an Ash Zealot. And Ian just trying to knock Justin down to 4 here because he has another Aristocrat in his hand. So at that point, he has a lot of insurance.
As we do see a Restoration Angel here from Justin. You guys do see Falkenrath Aristocrat on the screen. For my money, the best creature in Standard, potentially the best card in Standard, and it is doing quite a number on Justin right now. We do know, Patrick, that there's a Searing Spear in Ian's hand, so, you know, for Ian, this is a pretty good situation for him as far as blocking is concerned. First strike on the Ash Zealot, and Falkenrath Aristocrat being able to turn indestructible at a moment's whim.
Yeah, certainly Aristocrat in the conversation. Its tournament resume at this point is quite good.
Yes. As we do see the last 2 cards in Justin's hand, he has a Snapcaster Mage and he has a Sphinx's Revelation. And Snapcaster Mage, as good as a card as that is, not going to do a fantastic job of saving him right now.
Yeah. And awkwardly enough what does he do? It says he's Snapcaster Supreme Verdicts, but the Aristocrat just regenerates. He Snapcaster Pillars, that's not awesome here either. He Supreme Verdicts for 3, which is okay, but very dangerous, obviously, to just say go.
So we see Justin trying to craft a game plan here. Am I going to Snapcaster Mage, maybe attempt on Pillar of Flame? And, you know, the other thing here, too, is that if he does Snapcaster Mage, Ash Zealot is looming here, looking to deal him 3 points of damage. Do I Sphinx's Revelation, draw 3 cards, gain 3 life, and hope things go my way? And that's what he's going to do here. He's going to move up to 9.
But this almost certainly spells doom, as Ian has Falconwrath Aristocrat in hand.
See the Clifftop Retreat, and he can't get it out there fast enough. A second Falconwrath Aristocrat, an attack for 10 damage, and an extension of the hand. Ian Kendall moving on to the finals with his red-black aggro deck, Hellhole Flailer and all.
That was convincing. And like I said, Ian's list is very close to how I would build this deck were I to go about it myself. I don't know if that's a compliment or damning with the faintest bit of praise, but his main deck, his creature selection to me just seems awesome, and that was a very convincing, very fast victory over Blue White Red Flash.
And, you know, Justin's start was reasonable. You know, he did start with the Pillar of Flame, followed up by an Oblivion Ring for Ian's Astel, so he was able to, you know, take care of the first couple of creatures and even cast a Supreme Bird to get rid of some more. But the thing that makes these red-black aggro decks so difficult to beat are just the unrelenting pressure that they put on their opponent with all of these haste creatures. And these aren't small haste creatures either.